Python tracing and conditional jumps. I'm writing a concolic engine for Python using the system.setTrace functionality. The main task during such kind of execution is to record the constraints on the input variables. The constraints are nothing else than the conditions of the if statements that create two branches, the then and the else branch. When an execution is complete, the engine chooses a constraint and finds appropriate values for the inputs so that the execution will go the down along the other branch. At execution x it goes the then branch, at execution x+1 it goes along the else branch. This is to have a bit of context on why I'm doing what I'm trying to do. By combining setTrace and the dis module, I get to see the byte code of each source line, just before it is executed. This way I can easily record the if conditions as they appear during execution. But then I have the big problem. I need to know which way the if went, which branch the execution took. So if my code is something like, at a certain point my tracing thing will see, then the Python interpreter will execute the if and jump, or not, somewhere, and I will see. So is the instruction t+1 in the then branch or in the else one? Keep in mind the trace function sees only some byte code in the current block. I know of two ways to do this. One is to evaluate the condition to see exactly whether it is true or false. This works only if there are no side effects. The other way is to try to look at the instruction pointer at t+1 and try to understand where we are in the code. This is the way I am using right now, but it's very delicate because at t+1 I could find myself somewhere completely different, another module, a built-in function, etc. So finally, the question I have is this: is there a way to get from Python itself, or from a C module extension whatever, the result of the last conditional jump? In alternative, are there more fine-grained tracing options? Something like execute byte code one opcode at a time. With the setTrace functionality, the maximum resolution I get is whole source code lines. In the worst case, I think I can modify the Python interpreter to expose such information, but I would leave that as last resort, for obvious reasons.
There is no information in the trace facility about the last branch taken. What I did to implement branch coverage measurement in coverage.py is to keep a record for each stack frame of the last line executed. Then the next time the trace function is called, I can record a pair of line numbers which form a from to arc of execution. About finer grained tracing, you can trick the Python interpreter into giving you byte code information. My experiment in this is described here: Wicked Hack, Python bytecode tracing. I'd be very interested to see how this work progresses.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.